what's up, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning in today or tonight. So I was just recently I did a live stream where I was talking about the globe and how the globe, or really spheres in general, but definitely a gravity-based globe, is a very relativistic object, celestial body, whatever you want to call it. And the reason for that is, well, if you're standing, let's just say this is up here, this is North America. If you're standing up here on top of the globe, your down is down here in this direction. But if you live on the other side of the globe, let's say you live like in Australia, your down is actually pointing up. So there is no universal up or down. It's all relative. It's all relative on a globe. So, I just decided to do a little bit of research because I was thinking about the theory of relativity. And I'm like, damn, if it turns out the globe is a lie, and, you ask, why would anybody lie about the shape of the planet? Well, if you wanted to convince the masses to believe in a moral relativistic universe, where there is no absolute morals, there is no absolute up and down, everything is relative to each individual person, do what thou wilt, a satanic principle. There are no morals, there are no rules, there is no God arbiter of truth and morality. It's whatever goes. If you wanted to convince people of that, you might want to tell them you live on a gravity-based ball in a universe bound by the theory of relativity. So I decided to do some research, and I discovered that indeed many scholars have questioned whether or not Albert Einstein's theory of relativity helped usher in a new era of moral relativism. And in fact, some people even attribute the rise of modern art. And let me just say that modern art is, some people say it's one of the ugliest things ever. What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to try to block out all the live chat for a moment while I get this off my chest here. Some people say, modern art is hideous. And people would argue that the reason for that is that one of the underpinnings of modern art is that there is no objective beauty. There is no objective standard of beauty. It's whatever you want. So if you think that a fucking turd in a glass box is art, then it's amazing. It's such an incredible achievement, right? So apparently, and I've been reading multiple articles now, scholars are saying that Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, whether or not it was Einstein's intention, his theory of relativity helped usher in an age of moral relativism and even modern art. So, this article talks about, a variety of things. Einstein would publish his argument for a general theory of relativity. The principle of relativity, blah, 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 blah. Thus, time, matter, and energy are relative, not absolute. Blah, blah, blah. Super influential. Nevertheless, the cultural impact of Einstein's theory extends far beyond the laboratory of the science classroom. As the 20th century unfolded, Einstein's theory of relativity quickly became a symbol and catalyst for something very different, the development of moral relativism. So again, people ask, why would they lie about the shape of our planet? It's a good question. I don't know if they're lying. I don't know if we live on a globe or if we live on some type of flat plane or some triangular plane. I don't know what the shape of the planet is, but if ever the elite wanted to lie to you about anything, maybe they'd want to lie about the shape of the planet and, for that matter, the structure of the universe, because the truth is that this globe model, this random space rocks that exploded out of a big bang of nothingness, purposelessly flying through the cosmos for no reason other than evolution, survival of the fittest, kill or be killed, that's a very fucking terrible way to view reality. But maybe it's something you'd want to spoon feed the masses if you were elite and you didn't want the underclasses rising up and saying, hey, you crazy elites are acting, well, immorally. You're acting in a bad way. And I cite God who created the universe as my witness on why, what you're doing is wrong. The globe is a relativistic object because there are no universal ups or downs. It's relative to each person depending on where they stand on the globe. And the theory of relativity is essentially that. It's essentially a relativistic thing. Now, it's relative to the observer. Now, apparently, Einstein did not like or intend that his theory would be used for anything other than the strict science. According to multiple articles I've read here, Einstein was not a moral relativist, nor did he believe that his theories had any essential moral or cultural meaning. He recoiled when his theory of relativity was blamed or credited for the birth of modern art, Cubism in particular, or any other cultural development. The philosopher Isaiah Berlin defended Einstein against any such charge. The word relativity has been widely misinterpreted as relativism, the denial or doubt about the objectivity of truth or moral values. This was the opposite of what Einstein believed. He was a man of simple and absolute moral convictions which were expressed in all he was and did. The author continues, fair enough. Albert Einstein was not a moral relativist, and his theory of relativity had nothing to do with morality. The problem, however, is simple. Einstein's theory of relativity entered the popular consciousness as a generalized relativism. The issue here is not to blame Albert Einstein. He is not responsible for the misuse, misapplication, and misappropriation of his theory. But in any event, for millions of modern people, relativity was understood as moral relativism. And that misunderstanding is one of the toxic developments of the modern age. As Walter Isaacson, Einstein's most important biographer, explains, in both his science and his moral philosophy, Einstein was driven by a quest for certainty and deterministic laws. If his theory of relativity produced ripples that unsettled the realms of morality and culture, this was not caused by what Einstein believed, but by how he was popularly interpreted. Historian Paul Johnson gets it exactly right as he describes the cultural impact of Einstein's theories. Quote, was as though the spinning globe had been taken off its axis and cast adrift in a universe which no longer conformed to accustomed standards of measurement. At the beginning of the 1920s, the belief began to circulate. For the first time at a popular level, there were no longer any absolutes of time and space, of good and evil, of knowledge, above all, of value. Mistakenly, but perhaps inevitably, Einstein's theory of relativity became confused with moral relativism. Johnson goes further, arguing that, quote, the public response to relativity was one of the principal formative influences on the course of 20th century history. It formed a knife inadvertently wielded by its author to help cut society adrift from its traditional moorings in the faith and morals of Judeo-Christian culture. So, I was just looking at these stuff. I was just reading some of these articles, and I was just like, just looking into it, as they say, right? Just checking it out, Thank you guys in the chat. What's up, everybody? So anyways, yeah, that's, I just wanted to point that out real quick. I found that interesting. What's up, everybody in the chat? What's up, everybody watching live? Yeah, I found that interesting. know. I think it's interesting that yeah, whether or not it was Einstein's intentions that his theory of relativity would help justify moral relativism. Some apparent scholars, I don't know if they're actually scholars, but they're well-written researchers, say that Einstein's theory of relativity absolutely had an effect on the rise of moral relativism, even modern art. Even modern art. Which, of course, modern art, a lot of it is based on, subjectivity is king. It's all relative. There is no objective beauty or standard. So because of that, you can put a piece of crap in a glass box and say, I think it's so beautiful, and then all the other morons have to show up at your stupid art gallery and ooh and ah like they've seen something so amazing, even though it's just a turd in a glass box. In fact, if you look at a lot of modern art, it's ugly, it's hideous. And sometimes it's almost like it's deliberately hideous, some of this modern art. It's deliberately ugly fashion styles that just, they poke out at you and unsettle you. And it's almost like it's a rebellion against, if God does exist, if there is a creator to the universe, it's almost like modern art is a rebellion against any objective standard of beauty. The uglier, the better. Because it's almost like the uglier you make it, the more you're going against the ultimate God architect of how reality is supposed to look. And of course, I would say that a big portion of if you just get into moral relativism, but it is interesting. I do find it really interesting. The sphere is a very interesting symbol and a very interesting shape. Like I was saying in the live stream a few days ago, the sphere is a relativistic object. Because if you had yourself a perfect sphere, it looks the same from no matter what side you look at it from. Top, bottom, left, right. It's a perfect curve. It's constantly curving at every angle you look at it. Now compare that to other three-dimensional shapes, like a cube. If you look at a cube along one of its edges, it's not going to look exactly the same from any angle. Different angles, you're going to see different points sticking out. It's totally different. But there's something about a sphere, the geometrical structure of a sphere, that no matter where you look at it from, it looks exactly the same. It's in the eye of the beholder. Just like it's on the feet of the person standing, depending on where they're standing on a globe, to know where down is. If you're in North America, down, the mere physics of the universe, even those are totally relative. Even those are totally subjective on a globe, on a gravity-bound globe. So, I've had a theory for a while now that, Einstein, and this applies to anyone, really. I don't even apply to Einstein, but I mean scientists in general. There's smart people in the world who can think with great intellect. But there's still sort of a vicious survival of the fittest world where people, there's going to be money involved. There's, you got universities involved nowadays, and they just want to make their money. And sometimes a smart guy comes along, and maybe the elite, maybe they pick and choose which intellectuals they want to push forward. Maybe the establishment funds the intellectual that has a theory that supports what the elite want. And maybe the theory of relativity, Einstein's theory of relativity, which, by the way, I believe that was his breakout theory. Even though he's known for many accomplishments, I think that's what made him famous. relativity. And again, going back to this article, relativity helped justify, whether it was Einstein's intention or not, according to numerous scholars here, including historian Paul Johnson, it was relativity that, it was Einstein's theory of relativity that helped usher in the age of moral relativism. And maybe that's what the elites want. Especially if the elite are like, crazy, satanic, spirit cooking type people. Yeah. Then you absolutely bet that spirit cooking type elites, they absolutely want a moral relativistic paradigm. They want to push a theory of relativity that leads to justifying moral relativism. They want that. So they're going to push Einstein. They're going to push the scientific theories and the philosophical underpinnings that sometimes are the basis for some of these theories. They're going to want to push the ones that help justify their agenda. So I just find it interesting how convenient the ball Earth is for anybody who has that type of agenda. If your agenda is to convince the masses that there's no objective morality, that there's no objective truth, and ultimately that there is no God, creator, arbiter of right and wrong, if you're literally a satanic elite and you reject God, and you want to write your own rules, do as thou wilt, or do what thou wilt, as was a key principle in, what the hell is that motherfucker's name? That's Satan, dude. That's satanic, I forget the guy's name. He's like one of the more recent popular satanic leaders or whatever. Do what thou wilt is a principle of Satanism, or at least one branch of Satanism. Do what thou wilt, whatever you want. You set the rules. There is no objective arbiter. There is no God. There's no rules to follow. Yeah. People ask, why would they lie? Why would they lie about the globe? I can think of one reason. You want to convince people? You want to convince people that what they live on, that the very structure of the universe supports a certain kind of nature. That the very structure of the universe supports a certain kind of nature. And like I already pointed out, as numerous historians and scholars have pointed out, Aleister Crowley, that's the one. As numerous historians and scholars have pointed out in the articles I was just reading to you, if Einstein's theory of relativity, which is a purely scientific theory, and as I'll point out to you really quickly, Einstein didn't want his theory of relativity to be used for moral and cultural issues. I quote, Einstein was driven by a quest for certainty and deterministic laws. If his theory of relativity produced ripples that unsettled the realms of morality and culture, this was not caused by what Einstein believed, but how he was popularly interpreted. Yes. So, but if the theory of relativity could help usher in a new age of moral relativism, then imagine what telling people they live on a spinning globe, gravity-bound ball can have on people's actions. So again, this is a mainstream source. In fact, Time magazine also did a piece discussing it. Here's an excerpt from that. Time magazine also did a piece on how Einstein's theory of relativity is believed to have ushered in a new era of moral relativism and even modern art. So, if Einstein's theory of relativity could usher in a new age of moral relativism, and that's just some obscure formulaic, math theory thing, then imagine what telling people something as concrete as you live on a giant spinning ball. Imagine the effects that could have on people. So it's this kind of crazy theory that what you tell people the structure of the universe is can affect them at a very deep and identity level a way that even affects their daily actions, how they view the world, and how they go out into the world. I mean, you can't deny that if you are told you're just a monkey that somehow evolved from an explosion, big bang that came out of nothing for no purpose whatsoever, versus you were created by some type of creator or programmer that has a preset sort of destiny and rules that you should follow to keep the system, to keep the simulation running efficiently, that might change the way you view yourself and the way you view others and the way you act in the world. So what if that's a powerful tool of manipulation? What if telling people lies about the structure and nature of the universe can get them to act in ways that you would want them to act? And again, I think that's not a really outlandish theory. As multiple historians and scholars have already pointed out, as I've shown you, if Einstein's theory of relativity could help usher in a new age of moral relativism, or maybe the first age ever in moral relativism, then imagine what telling people they live on a spinning ball can do to how they view the world. Well, number one, the spinning part, you feel, okay, well, fine, Chris, so the gravity part, there's no absolute up and down. Okay, we get that, but what's the point of telling people they live on a spinning ball? It's one thing to say, oh, you're stuck to the ball because of gravity, and there's no universal absolute up and down. So if you're in North America, down is down for you, but if you're in China, their down is up, and it's just whatever. It's relative to wherever you are on the globe. But how about the spinning part? What does that have to do? How does that affect people? Who knows? Maybe telling people they live on a spinning object going at 1,000 miles an hour, maybe that gets you to feel like the world never stops. Maybe that gets you to think and feel like you should never settle. Keep running the never-ending economic rat race. Keep the engines going. Never stop. Never take a moment to stop and settle down. And we kind of live in that kind of society, don't we? People, we can't sit still in silence. It drives us crazy. So we have to constantly go to our phones to get a little crack addict update to get some activity going in our lives. We're constantly itching to do things. And I imagine if you think you live on a spinning ball that's always moving, and subconsciously that's in the back of your head, that you think the world is constantly spinning and constantly moving, it probably subconsciously you feel like you're going against your nature to take a moment and to sit still in some silence. Because you're like, well, I'm just a little speck on the earth, and the whole universe is constantly moving and spinning. So I should, why should I even sit down in silence and quiet and calm and peace? Why should I even do that? I should be up and constantly active and constant motion. This OCD era of constant motion. You need something constantly. We can't sit still. People can't meditate. They start going crazy if they ever try meditation. Who knows? So, hey, don't get me wrong, guys. I know this is very outlandish shit. I've had to really exercise Aristotle's advice. Which is, it's the mark of an educated mind to exercise or to entertain an idea without accepting it. And that's what I'm doing here with the flat earth theory. I am I'm being a hardcore skeptic. Someone just said skepticism is good. I'm being a hardcore skeptic, not the fake skeptics, not the so-called atheist skeptics who they'll question religion, but they won't question anything as long as the word peer review is next to it. They'll trust anything from the scientific establishment blindly, but they'll be super skeptical. No, I'm talking about true skepticism, being skeptical of all types of things, being skeptical of everything. And that's what I've done with the flat earth theory. I have applied extreme skepticism to the globe, which I always believed with zero evidence my entire life. And I am entertaining, like Aristotle said, I'm entertaining an idea without accepting it, the flat earth theory. And I know it's kind of crazy at first. And I know it seems weird. It seems really far out that somebody, the elite or whatever you want to call them, would use something as abstract as lying about our perception of the nature and structure of reality to control us. You would never think that. You would never think that they would use the structure of the planet we live on as a way to corral people and change their behavior in a way that they want. It's the last thing you'd ever think of. But maybe it's why it's the first thing they teach you when you walk into school and there's a big fat globe on the desk and they tell you live on a giant spinning ball. The last thing you think of, it's the first thing they brainwash you with. So again, I like to exercise true skepticism. I don't like being a pseudo-skeptic. I like to entertain wild ideas, even if they might be wrong. And you might call me crazy, but I call you weak, intellectually weak. And don't worry, I don't take the naysayers, I don't take their opinions seriously because you guys aren't pioneers. You guys are followers. That's all you guys do. And every intellectual revolution that we owe to anybody throughout history, we owe it to the trailblazers. We owe it to the Nikola Teslas. We owe it to all the people who came up with ideas without just blindly following what people before them came up with. So you have to have respect for people who think outside the box. And if you're not willing to think outside the box, then you're just a pointless bandwagoning follower. And you have no influence. You really don't have any influence. You're literally pointless. So again, guys, here it is. Here is the globe. It's the globe, my friends. I mean, it's the first thing you walk into a classroom, you see a globe on the teacher's desk somewhere in the corner. They got it right there. I have to say, guys, I mean, it'd be really crazy, man, if this thing was a fiction and it's a symbol of a hoax. It's a symbol of a freaking religion. It would be really crazy. I'll tell you, this certainly does look CGI. This really does look CGI, though. I wonder if it has any of those copy and paste cloud formations that you can find on some of the other official NASA photos. Some of the other, I've done it. It's like the official, you go to nasa.gov and you download the official photo file from nasa.gov's official website, and you zoom in and you can see the copy and paste cloud pattern. It's like, you could have done a little bit better with all that tax money, man. Couldn't you have done a little better? Couldn't you have spent a little more money on a graphic designer to stitch that one together? With all those copy and paste clouds, I mean, give me a break, please. So it would be crazy, and man, it'd be the biggest lie, wouldn't it? It would be the biggest lie, wouldn't it? Hey, I'm going to jump to the chat room and just hang out with you guys here for a little bit, read some of your chat questions and shit. Talk to me, y'all. Talk to me, y'all. Put this over here. Someone says, keep up the great work. Thank you. Nice green shirt. Okay, thanks, bro, I guess. Earth flat. What do you think about that? Someone asked, Red Pill, have you ever had anxiety? I had anxiety a few years ago. It was pretty fucking debilitating. It was pretty crippling. But I was able to overcome the anxiety by doing this face it and accept it method. And the face it and accept it method is basically this thing where you have to face your fears and you have to accept them. So if you have anxiety, a lot of times what we try to do is we try to run away from the anxiety. We try to suppress it by playing video games or watching YouTube or fucking eating a bunch of food. We try to suppress it. We try to pretend it's not there. We try to rationalize it. But most people, when they have anxiety, the last thing they ever think about doing is facing it. Is running face forward into the anxiety. And what happens is the anxiety, it's like a fiction. It's like a phantom. It's not real. It's created by your mind. It's created by fears. An analogy would be if you think there's a monster in your closet, you'll never know if there's anything there unless you open the fucking closet and you shine a light in there and you check to see if there's a monster. Of course, when you look, there's no monster in the closet. Once you check, you're going to be like, oh shit, there's no monster in the closet. It was all in my head. And in my experience, suffering with some pretty crippling anxiety a few years ago, this was back in around 2013, I found that, that was the only thing that worked. I went to go see a psychologist for a few weeks, and this dumb bitch was just telling me, here, take some pills. Here, take some pills. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I came here to get help from you. I thought you were going to talk to me. You work through my problems. She kept trying to get me to go see her psychiatrist friend, who's going to give me a bunch of pills. So I eventually left the psychologist lady after 2 weeks and said, fuck it, I'm not taking those pills. I don't care how anxious I am. And then one night I was literally just struggling with the anxiety. It was driving me crazy. It was killing me. It was just so, I couldn't sleep. I was so anxiety ridden. I was just at my edge. So I decided, I just started Googling for help, Googling for answers. And I found this website called panicend.com. I believe it was called panicend.com. And so this guy is a random dude. He came up with this face it and accept it thing. I don't know if he called it that, but that's basically what I call it. And no, I tried it out that very night. I said, okay, I'm going to radically accept the anxiety. And the moment I started to radically accept the anxiety, it started to go away. Literally immediately. It just started to melt away. After like 2 months of crippling anxiety, it just started to go away. And see, I think the reason why that face it and accept it thing works is because if you never look inside the closet to see if there's a freaking monster in there, we got a guy named Dean Miller. Dean Miller up in the live chat, he says, Red Pill, I'm unsubbing. You need to be more thoughtful before you publish this nonsense. Oh my God. That's literally so pointless, I won't even respond. So if you don't check what's inside the closet, you'll never know, and you'll constantly be paranoid and panicking because you're speculating. What if there's a monster in there? You have to get up, you have to face your fear, you have to walk into the closet and look in there and see it for what it is. Shine a big fat spotlight in there. And just as scary as it is, you're not going to feel calm and at rest until you finally look in the fucking closet and see that there's no monster in there. And now people say, oh, but what if there's a monster in the closet? Well, at least when you know there's a monster in the closet, you know, oh shit, turn around, run out the room, run out your house, and like call the police to come save you. At least if you know there's a monster in the closet, you know how to deal with the demon. You can at least take proactive measures. But what I found with generalized anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety that sort of follows you all day, everywhere you go, what I found is that there's almost like you can't even, it's almost like it's an anxiety that you don't even know what's causing it. And that's why it's worse, because you could be anxious about like, oh, you have a test next week and you got to get a good grade on your test, so you're anxious. But that's so much different, because at least then you know what's causing it and you can work with it and rationalize. That's not that bad. Generalized anxiety, which I think that's what most people mean when they use the term I have anxiety. Generalized anxiety is just a little buzz of anxiousness that you don't even know why it's there and it's driving you crazy. I would argue the reason you don't know what's causing it is because you haven't looked into the closet yet. You haven't opened the closet, shined the spotlight in there to see what's there. Sometimes there's nothing there. Sometimes there is a monster. But at least if there's a monster, just like if there's a test next week that you're worried about, at least if there's a monster, you know it's there, and you know that you better run out and you can take some steps to deal with it. Just like if you have a test next week and you're nervous about it, you know how you can take steps to deal with it. Because it's something that you understand. And I think that's what causes a lot of generalized anxieties, that there's something you're suppressing that's causing you to be anxious, and you're choosing to not look at it. And you're not confronting it, and you're not dealing with it. And sometimes it could be benign, simple things like, oh, you gotta pay your rent at the end of the month, or you gotta go ask your parents about that thing they did to you last year that's been bugging you ever since. You never confronted them and asked them. Like, sometimes it's a buildup of a handful of maybe 5 things that you know you have to take care of that you're not taking care of, and you're just procrastinating and suppressing it. And because you're not looking at it head on, it's causing an anxiety in the background. And because you're hiding and running from it, instead of just dealing with it one by one, it's just causing this sort of generalized anxiety that's driving you crazy. So anyways, the whole face it and accept thing. Yeah, you have to find out. It's scary at first when you face the anxiety. It's very scary at first. It's very terrifying. But what I found is that once you, again, the closet analogy is fucking perfect. Okay, there's a closet right there. The closet analogy is perfect. The closer you get to the closet, the more terrified you get, right? You get closer, and then once you put your hand on the doorknob, you're even more scared, and you're trembling more than you were. And then as you slowly start to open it, it's like the peak terror. And that's why most people, they never get over their anxiety issues, because they never think that if I just push through and open the damn closet door, they never think that they'll get peace on the other side. They never think that the anxiety will go away on the other side. The natural instinct is to run from fear. It's to run away, to look away, to stop thinking about our anxiety. But I've found that just perpetuates it. You have to look dead on, and you have to explore internally where the fears lie. What thoughts provoke the fear? You close the door, because if you don't open it and you look inside and put a spotlight in there, a flashlight, and find out whether or not there's any monsters in that closet, until you look and check, you'll never know, and you'll always be in fear, and you'll always be panicking. So that's my advice on anxiety. Someone says, Satoshi Bits writes, they say the Earth rotates around the sun at 666 miles per hour. I heard about that. Yeah, I watched the Convex Earth documentary, and one of my first impressions of it was Well, this is cool. At least you got science-y type people talking about things, talking about the flat Earth, performing experiments. But man, what a poorly produced documentary. I could have done a better job. I mean, just the cheesy, repetitive music in the background, you'd think it was a problem. Andrew Furrer writes, Red Pill, you're okay for a cave beast. Yeah, thanks, bro. This fish writes, look at a pic of Toronto CN Tower from Taken Olcott, New York. You can only see the top half. Um, Trump Kanye 2020. Oh, guys, by the way, I forgot. I forgot to plug the incredible The Earth is Cat t-shirts. I apologize. I forgot to plug them. I mean, there they are. The Earth is Cat t-shirts. You know, I don't have a link in the description right now, unfortunately. Um, but there it is. The Earth is Cat t-shirts. Try to get this in here. Jesus Christ. The Earth is Cat t-shirts. Don't have a link right now. I guess I'll post it once the live stream is up. The Earth is Cat t-shirts. Just come back later to my video if you guys are interested in one, but the link will be right there in the description. People are really liking this one, the Earth is Cat t-shirts. Um, yeah, as for the whole thing about the buildings, you can only see the top half of the building from Canada or whatever the hell you were talking about, and a lot of that apparent buildings disappearing behind horizons, I think is pretty. It can be pretty much attributed to perspective. I've seen a lot of videos that perspective seems to adequately explain it. And that's the thing. That's what's weird about the flat earthers is that, or rather, the flat Earth argument is that they have a counter argument for like everything. I don't know, man. If you think we lived on a giant spinning ball, and that's what we actually lived on, you just there's no way the flat earthers would have made it this far already in the freaking debate discourse. There's no way they would have made it this far. But I mean, I'm listening to debates. There was a debate that happened just a few weeks ago on YouTube. Flat earther versus a glober. And the flat earther had a counter argument for everything. And it doesn't sound like they're just bullshitting. Chris Meister says, Red Pill, do you think all planets are flat? I don't know, man. I think that the moon is a mysterious object. I think the moon is a mysterious object. I mean, you want to call it a sphere, fine, but it's a really weird sphere that does weird shit. Like you can only see one side of the moon, hence the dark side of the moon. I mean, I just wonder if there's hidden meanings in that Pink Floyd album, The Dark Side of the Moon. I had an email exchange back and forth with somebody, and we were talking about potential hidden flat earth meanings in pop culture and music, and we talked about the Dark Side of the Moon album by Pink Floyd, and there's a song called Us and Them, and some of the lyrics is like up, 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 and down, 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 something, something, round and round and round. And of course, up and down could be a reference to like, what I was saying in my live stream a few days ago, where there is no universal or absolute up and down on a globe. It's all relative. So what's down for you in North America is up for you in China or Australia, et cetera, et cetera. So who knows? Who knows? But the moon is a very strange object. The moon is a very strange. I mean, just think about it. No matter where you are on the planet, no matter what time, no matter what year, no matter what century. I mean, maybe it changed a little bit, supposedly over thousands of years, but in any point in recent history, no matter where you are on Earth, you only see one side of the fucking moon. One side of the moon. Everyone sees the exact same. Everyone on the globe sees the exact same. So that's just a little weird. Scientists, the mainstream scientism, physicalists, will swear it's just a big cosmic coincidence, bro. It's just a big coincidence. They'll swear to God it's just a coincidence. Just like, the total solar eclipse is a big ass coincidence. That the reason the moon appears to be the exact same size of the sun as it passes in front of the sun during a total solar eclipse, the reason is because even though the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon also, the sun also happens to be 400 times further away from us than the moon is. So from our location on Earth, they look the same, even though they're massively different sizes. They just happen to be the exact same, many times more distance away from us, respectively. So the moon is a weird object, and people want to say, "Oh, but I pulled out a telescope and I looked at the moon, and it looks like a ball. It looks like a sphere made out of rock." Okay, that might be true. I haven't looked at the moon through a telescope. But what's also true is that these two celestial bodies that are so important in our little fucking globe, supposedly, they're full of some very interesting coincidences. I don't really know anything about UFOs, man. Don't look into it. Don't talk about it much. Someone says, "I am lost. How did Red Pill go from Trump to flat Earth? I've been alt way for some time, it seems." Elon Musk, I think he's pretty red pilled. Someone says, "How much would someone have to pay you to get a large tattoo of David Hogg's face on your back?" I probably wouldn't do that for any amount. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anyways. Ugh. Yeah. Sorry. Stretching. Oh, man. Start doing some fucking yoga or some shit. Oh, oh man. Ben writes, I connected with flat earth because I remember as a kid not believing the whole globe thing. We being told at a young age not to believe our senses. Yeah, it's weird because I swallowed the whole globe model hook, line, and sinker. Um, I totally just fell for that. I just believed it. I never even had a question. I do remember, I do have a vivid memory. Maybe I was like 7 years old. I was at like a park with my dad, and I don't know, I guess I asked him about like, where do we live? Or what is, like those curious questions kids ask. I don't remember what led up to it, but I do explicitly remembering my dad telling me about gravity and how the earth spins. I do have a vivid memory. I mean, we're talking about, let's see, I was 7 years old. So that's 23 years ago as a 7-year-old kid. And I remember my dad saying that the earth spins, and because of gravity, it keeps us on the surface. And I just accepted it. I never questioned it. I never was like, that doesn't make any sense. I was just like, okay. Um, so yeah, that was crazy, man. That shit is like, man, it's just crazy. It just makes you wonder. Some of these formative beliefs, these fun, and kids are curious in a very fascinating way. A lot of kids will ask these sort of deep existential questions. It's a natural thing. It's not just like, oh, just a nerdy, hyper philosophical. No, children are always naturally asking these kinds of existential questions about the nature of reality. A lot of people here are saying that I'm a Jew. Yeah, I really don't think I'm Jewish, man. Um, I really don't think I'm Jewish. It's like, I don't know where you got that one from. I don't think I'm Jewish. Um, but anyways, yeah. So, man, so children naturally ask those questions. They ask questions about, where's the edge of the universe? Like, where's the end? And then what's on the other side of the edge of the universe? Like, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. No, I don't eat bagels. See, we have somebody here, Amused Outsider. He writes, what's the point of flat Earth or globe? What impact do it have on our decisions? Man, I mean, um, it's everything, bro. I mean, look, the average person who believes the Earth is a globe without even questioning it, they believe that science and truth is so important and we have to preserve it. Um, but most people think that. Most people who believe the Earth is a globe think it's important that we preserve science. And yet, a lot of the same people will be like, well, who cares if it's flat or round? Who cares? It almost seems like that's a deflection because it scares them to think that they've been lied to about something so fundamental. Because everybody thinks that science and truth has to be preserved. Everybody says that. But once you say, oh, we might have been lied to about something as big as the shape of the planet, then it's suddenly, who cares if it's flat or round? It don't make a difference to me. But yeah, I think it probably makes a big fucking difference, bro. All right. You need I'll tell you right now, a big relativistic, gravity-based spinning ball really helps to justify living in a rat race slave system. It really helps justify it. Really helps justify it. And it might help you throw your hands up and say, fuck it. I'm just going to keep playing this slave rat race game because it's the nature of the universe. It's how the whole universe is structured. Spinning relativistic balls of purposeless matter, survival of the fittest, blowing up out of nothing called the Big Bang. It matters, man. It definitely matters. Someone says a sphere occupies the least spatial volume. I mean, if that's true, then why aren't we all just made of spheres? I don't know. Why aren't sphere planets just populated by sphere creatures? You know, shit, we're made up of spheres, supposedly. Atoms, with little solar system looking atoms spinning around, you know, as above, so below. Happy Super Happy says, because human bodies are diamagnetic. I have no idea what that means. Now he says it's diamagnetic. I still have no idea what that means. Again, that supposedly was always one of the explanations. That's just a natural order of how particles formulate. They naturally come together in a globe. Okay, I mean, supposedly, yeah, that's what they say. Brian Cox says, if they lied to us about the shape of the earth, what else have they lied to us about? Well, I'm thinking that's about as big as the lie gets. And maybe above that lie is the lie that there is no God, that we are all just purposeless bits of matter pointlessly colliding in the universe for survival of the fittest. The fuck was I gonna say? Well, kind of lost it, but actually, I was gonna say something really good. So let me just go back and find like what the fuck who was I responding to? What was I saying? What was I fucking saying? What else would they lie to us about? Someone's like, I love your new Kanye video, man, but stop screaming so much. That's the best part, man. Screaming with passion is the best part. What's wrong with you? So yeah, I mean, I think that if there's a bigger lie than the flat earth, it's that there's probably a creator. And I'm not even like a religious person. I've always been like, yeah, you know, fuck the religions. They're all just control mechanisms. But, you know, I guess this whole thing has kind of got me looking at, you know, our purpose. It's funny, you know, it's like, you know, like, yeah, of course it's got me looking at our purpose on this, in this reality differently, because the Big Bang atheist model, physicalist model, is there's no purpose. It's all just random, coincidental, pointless chance. So yeah, the flat earth model has definitely really got me thinking about purpose, because if you're ever going to have a purpose in a universe, it's probably going to be the one that was created for you by the architect of reality. CC Snipes J says, shut the fuck up. Someone says, you tapped into your white chocolatism with your Kanye video. Okay, I don't know what that means. Sam Harris is boring. Somebody asked me thoughts on Sam Harris. I say boring. Really, really exciting back in like, you know, a decade ago, like around 2003, 2006. Really, really cool then. A real trailblazer back then. But nowadays, Sam Harris and the majority of the atheist movement, they did a great job in using reason and logic to debunk religious bullshit. That was always fun, but they absolutely decimated religion. But the atheists, they're not really trailblazing anymore. I don't see them doing anything really interesting. I want trailblazing, cutting-edge stuff. And we have to talk about physicalism, which is, that's most atheists atheists, that's their religion. It's physicalism. It's their religion. Where's this mentally ill weirdo? CJ Snipes says, yeah, shut the fuck up, trying to pretend to be a scientist. We might have a little atheist physicalist weasel in the chat, all butthurt, probably hopes he could shut down all dissenting voices. If flat earth was that stupid, then we would debunk ourselves in every video we make, theorizing and hypothesizing about it. Yet I hear so many comments from Globers saying how they wish they want to incarcerate flat earthers, they want to shut flat earthers down, they want to institutionalize flat earthers. You guys seem very scared of flat earthers, considering they're just a bunch of, unhinged, mentally ill morons. Sometimes you got to judge people by how they react. You judge people by how they react. That tells you a lot. And you know what I've noticed about the average Glober who reacts to the flat earth theory? Their reactions reveal massive insecurity. The average Glober's reaction to the flat earth theory reveals massive insecurity, which shouldn't be surprising because the average Glober doesn't even know why they believe it's a globe. They believe it's a globe because their first grade teacher told them it was a globe, and that's it, and they never questioned it. So when someone comes along and says the globe might be false and it might be a fake religion, deep down, because they know they don't even understand why they think it's a globe, they get very triggered. And Sexy Charles says atheism is just a cult of depressed people. That's right. Atheism is a religion of nihilism. They are basically just existential buzzkills. I'm running out of battery, guys, so let me get my charger real quick here. Set this fucker down. Get my charger real quick. Don't want to run out of batteries, We don't want that. We don't want to run out of batteries, Jesus. Jesus is my savior. No, I'm just kidding. For all the physicalist atheists in the chat, don't worry, I'm just trolling. I'm not really praising Jesus here. The same butthurt, angry, pseudoscientific physicalist CC Snipes J says, blue pill all day, resist the red. So I guess you're admitting that you're blue-pilled, which by definition means that you're ignorant and lack true awareness about the nature of reality. So you just debunked yourself. All right. If you say so, man. Let me take a look at these super chats. We got some super chats here. Just want to make sure there weren't any questions that people had or something. How the fuck does this work? Always a bit annoying the way that. There you go. That's super chat. All right. Well, Mr. Pineapple Man absolutely dominating the fucking super chats. He's just saying more videos like this, please. Throwing in multiple $3 super chats, a $20 super chat. Thank you, Mr. Pineapple Man. You're always supportive of my variety of my videos, really. So yeah, man. What's up, guys? We got 95 of you tuned in, and that's all great. Do women make you happy? They don't make me angry. Somebody says the earth isn't flat because the earth isn't even real. Okay. Man, I don't know anything about Planet X, man. Sorry. We have someone, Simon Smith. 2,000 years ago, Eratosthenes proved the earth is a globe using a stick and its shadow. Well, unfortunately for you, my friend, if you missed out on one of my recent videos, uh, Neil deGrasse Tyson actually debunked that. Because he said that Eratosthenes' original experiment using a stick and a well is insufficient to prove the shape of the Earth. Now, Eratosthenes originally used a stick and a well, but in a recent interview with Star Talk, Neil deGrasse Tyson analogized Eratosthenes' experiment using two wells instead of a stick and a well. Carl Sagan, in his famous show Cosmos, when he did the episode on Eratosthenes, he used two sticks or two obelisks. The sticks and the wells are entirely interchangeable when it comes to these examples. Doesn't matter whether it's a well or a stick, the same principles apply. Eratosthenes, though, originally used a stick and a well. Carl Sagan, in his show Cosmos, used two sticks or obelisks. And in a recent episode of Star Talk, Neil deGrasse Tyson, in the example referencing Eratosthenes, Neil Tyson used two wells. And you can go look at the Star Talk interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And Neil deGrasse Tyson says, two wells or two obelisks or a stick and a well, two items in the experimental setup created by Eratosthenes. Neil Tyson said that two wells is insufficient to prove the shape of the Earth. Tyson says that it turns out using only two wells, Eratosthenes' experiment could prove that the Earth could either be curved or flat, depending on how far away you assume the sun is. And that was always an assumption in the experimental setup. If you assume that the sun is really, really big and really, really far away, the mainstream cosmology, then Eratosthenes' experiment can work if you input that the Earth is curved. His shadow experiment. Now, on the other hand, if you assume that the sun is much smaller and much closer, the typical flat Earth view, then Eratosthenes' experiment with the stick and the well and the shadows is totally consistent with a flat Earth that has a smaller and closer sun. Totally consistent. So Eratosthenes' experiment with two wells, or a stick and a well, is insufficient to prove the shape of the Earth. Yet if you go to YouTube right now and you type in Eratosthenes, globe or whatever, and you look up a clip, you'll see videos from random YouTubers who upload videos with titles like "Stupid Flat Earthers Get Debunked by Carl Sagan's Show." And these are videos that were uploaded years ago, before Flat Earth got really popular, and before Neil Tyson had his recent episode of Star Talk. And it turns out Flat Earthers have pushed the Globers back into a corner. The Flat Earthers are on the march and the Globers are on the run. And I've seen this time and time again, like the ships sailing over the horizon. Turns out a lot of these ships, you can just pull them right back if you zoom in. The question is, how far away does a ship have to be to actually completely disappear? Same thing with, does a ship disappear from the bottom up? I've seen some insanely persuasive videos showing that it's just perspective, and it's also atmospheric lensing and possible mirage effects at a distance. Things that we all observe every day, like when you're driving down a street on a hot day and you see in the distance, you see the street bubbling. And I've seen people recreate these horizon effects with like a guy on a bike riding down a street. And as he gets to the end, he starts to disappear from the bottom up, even though the street he's riding bike on, as he goes off into the distance, is a straight fucking street. It has to do with all these interesting effects that I don't think people just took into account. People just didn't take it into account. Um, so it seems like flat earthers are on the march, and it seems like globers are on the run, and I've just seen it many times now. And this shouldn't be surprising because the average person doesn't even know why they think the earth is a globe. The globe, in many ways, is the biggest religion. And I know it sounds crazy because you think it's just backed by science. And even if we assume that it's true and there's scientific proof and it's 100% true that the earth is a globe, even if we assume that, 90% of the population doesn't know why they believe it's a globe. They have zero scientific understanding. They just believe it because their first grade teacher told them to. That is pure blind faith. That is pure religion. So in many ways, believing in the globe is actually the biggest religion on the entire planet. On the entire planet. So, yeah, that whole Eratosthenes thing, that has been just, that's just. But if we prove the earth is flat and the flat earthers will argue it's round. What the hell does that mean? The biggest wake-up call I ever had in my whole life. Damn, that's a hardcore question. Biggest wake-up call. CC Snipe says, creating more leftist schools to teach flat earth is great. What are you rambling about? Holy Jesus. Utsav Sarma says, hey Red Pill, could you respond to some of my liberal videos? Maybe I'll check it out when I'm done here. I don't know if you are a liberal or what that means. How do they predict? David says, how do they predict eclipses then? I don't know. I don't know if that refuses anything that I don't know if that refutes anything that flat earthers say. Yeah. The truth is, I'm still waiting for a good explanation for what a solar eclipse is. I'm still waiting for an explanation on the absolute incredible coincidence that, the Earth, the sun and the moon appear to be the exact same size as it passes in front of the sun during this total solar eclipse, yet the sun is supposedly 400 times bigger than the moon. It's just weird. I don't know. You guys got to answer me that big ass coincidence. Somebody asked, do I believe the earth is flat or round? I really don't know. But what's starting to happen to me is this. I'm not starting to believe the earth is flat, but I'm starting to discard the religion of the globe. Because I, like the vast majority of people, believe it's a globe pretty much entirely on blind faith. They never investigate it. They don't know why. They just believe it on blind faith. So that's what's happening to me. I'm not necessarily becoming a flat earther. I'm just becoming a true skeptic. Period. End of story. And I know the so-called skeptic community be like, there's no way you're a skeptic. You're only a true skeptic if you question religion, but blindly believe anyone from a peer-reviewed source says it's true. It's just this fake, artificial, synthetic skepticism. I'm just becoming a true skeptic, and I am, I don't know. I'm just, I'm discarding the globe religion. I'm doing away with believing in the globe based on blind faith. Somebody says, what are my thoughts on secular talk? I don't really watch that guy. I don't really know what he stands for other than that he's probably an atheist, so boring. Boring. That's the thing. Atheism is just so played out at this point. Like, we get it, dude. Most religions are internally contradictory, control empires. We get it, but that's okay. Let's move on to something else. Let's move on to something else. I don't really believe in any of the religions. Yeah. Um, Hi on Brothers ask if they can get a shout out. I don't even know who you are, but there's your shout out. Got to get that mustache in proper shape. Why can't globe heads show me the curved water? Man-made global warming, probably a hoax. Of course I don't like Bernie. I don't hate him, but he's Bernie the weak boy Sanders. Somebody asked if I'm done doing vegan videos. Well, I haven't really felt too inspired to do vegan videos because for the past month, I have been the worst vegan that ever was. I've so fucked up the vegan diet for the last month that I am the worst vegan. I still support veganism and I still hope it takes over, but man, do I lack the discipline to stick to a vegan diet consistently. So, it's weird. Like intellectually, I support veganism 100%, but when it comes down to like the discipline to not go out and eat animal corpses, I have trouble with that. So I'll tell you right now. Look, I'm gonna say something right now. If I was 100% vegan, if I had the discipline to stay on a vegan diet, number one, I would have a whole line of vegan shirts already designed. And they would be the coolest vegan shirts ever. Like I have a few designs in mind. I'm thinking of calling it the Vegan Nazi clothesline. And the whole idea behind it is that vegans need to stop being afraid of being self-righteous. Okay, because meat eaters will get self-righteous when it comes to dog abuse in China where they eat the dogs. Meat eaters will act so self-righteous, they'll get on Twitter, they'll be like, this is a disgrace, it's so terrible. They'll tell their friends, they'll ask politicians to get laws passed to ban the Chinese from eating dogs. I mean, meat eaters will act like the most self-righteous, holier than thou, just moral, preachers when it comes to the arbitrary group of animals that they choose to put in the little protection category. But all the other animals, like let's just take pigs for example, which have been shown to be smarter than dogs on average, they just say, who cares about the pigs? So again, people will make a million arguments for why dogs are categorically different than all the other animals you're allowed to eat. But I've seen many debates, including with Ask Yourself, he's a YouTuber. No one's found the fucking trait yet. No one's found the difference that justifies eating the pigs and the cows, but not the dogs and the cats that you want to protect. So I think it's time for vegans to stop being bullied into shame. Meat eaters have bullied vegans disingenuously by claiming that vegans are, vegans are just, they're just self-righteous and they don't mind their own business. Well, the average meat eater is self-righteous and doesn't mind his own business when it comes to dog eating in China. So there's a problem there, and it's time for vegans to stop being ashamed. And so if I was a more consistent vegan, I would have already created a whole line of vegan Nazi shirts. It's time for vegans to own their vegan Nazi ways. Truth Detector says I've turned into a cuck. Stop virtue signaling, but Truth Detector will probably cuck out and virtue signal over dog eating in China. So we have a walking hypocrite. Argument invalidated. Claptrap says, I guarantee I taste like shit. That's why I'm not in a factory farm right now. Well, do you season? Are you seasoned? Because I'm not sure if you would actually eat unseasoned animal meat. Someone says, how does someone with 189,000 subscribers only have 90 viewers? That's a good question. I'm not sure if you're just a little troll who's trying to mock that we only have 90 viewers, even though I'm quite content to have 90 viewers. But if it's a legit question, part of it could be censorship, which I've experienced plenty of censorship before. That's not a secret. Another part of it could be the fact that my channel is all over the place. I talk about anything and everything that's on my mind. So I have a lot of subscribers, but I think it's probably safe to say that a large number of my subscribers are only subscribed for a handful of different topics. So I go all across the board. If I wanted to run a business, if I was more interested in making Red Pill a profitable business instead of just a passion project, then I would only cover one topic. I wouldn't do live streams from a park just sitting there staring at the sun. So I have a lot of subscribers, but they come for different topics. So I think that might explain why there's a large subscriber count, but not necessarily that many viewers. I think that's a decent theory. That or I'm just being censored, one or the other. Some guy, BW, says, I'm a long time sub, but I gotta say the vegan BS loses me. Well, look, as long as you're not bitching and whining about Chinese people eating dogs in China, then at least maybe you're consistent. Otherwise, you're just literally contradicting yourself. So, I mean, just get over it. Vegans are just more consistent than the average meat eater. So you gotta at least respect their consistency. That's a cultural thing. Yeah, I think that proves my point, that it's totally arbitrary and there's no real logically consistent basis for why it's okay to kill the dogs but not the cows, or kill the cows but not the dogs. Truth Detector says vegans are boring. Try dog, it may taste nice. Again, I love this new strain of meat eaters who support killing and eating dogs. Nothing says desperation like, man, fuck it, yeah, who cares? Yeah, I bet dogs taste good. Yeah. Nothing says you're losing the argument like trying to justify eating dogs. And let me tell you, the small minority of proud meat eaters who justify eating dogs because they know that meat eating is not ethically defensible. It cannot be defended. I don't think there's actually a logically consistent or ethical argument for meat eating. You just have to accept that you don't believe in ethics and it's okay to eat tortured little animals. Because I haven't heard a good argument for it yet. There's a small minority of meat eaters who will openly say that it's okay to eat dogs. I bet they taste good. I don't care about dogs. Kill them, torture them, and put one on the barbecue for me right now. It just, nothing, to me, that's a great sign that the meat eating argument is losing desperately. The truth is, most people love dogs too much. Even meat eaters, they love dogs too much to say, okay, fuck it. Go grill me up some fucking puppy dog. Go grill me up some poodle. Go grill me up some canine. Go grill me up some chihuahua. Most meat eaters love dogs too much. So what's going to happen is that meat eaters are going to be backed into a corner where they either accept eating dogs or they go vegan. Or they accept that they're hypocrites and they're not going to change their ways. And that's really what it comes down to. That's really what the meat eating versus veganism argument comes down to. If you're a meat eater, either you support cooking and eating dogs, or you go vegan, or you take the middle ground, which is I'm going to keep eating animals, but I'm going to acknowledge that I am a hypocrite and I don't believe in any consistent morals or ethics. Presley Mitchell says, and vegans aren't hypocrites? Now that's funny. Well, if there's one thing that's true about vegans is that they're more consistent in their moral outrage and butthurt. Meat eaters will get morally outraged and virtue signal and get all preachy and get all up in your business when it comes to the dog eating in China, but they don't care about any of the other animals. At least vegans are consistent in their outrage. Someone says, holy shit, wow, SJW alert. Hey, moron, have you ever whined about the Chinese eating dogs? Then you're an SJW too, stupid. Yes, come on, guys. Being logically consistent, isn't that the whole point of anti-SJW? You're not being logically consistent. I thought it was facts over feelings. Come on now. Come on now. Plenty of people are complaining about dog meat eating in China, bro. Plenty of meat eaters too. Some mentally ill person says, why are you projecting? You can't just say you're projecting when you're the one projecting. That's actually projecting about the fact that you're projecting. Anyways, guys, thank you all for the conversation. I think I'll be calling it a night. Thank you guys for tuning in on this spontaneous Tuesday night live stream. I just pulled this live stream right out of my ass on the spot. Pornhub time. There it is, guys. The globe. The globe. If the earth is flat, then the globe is the biggest religion there ever was. But we don't know, do we? We shall see. One thing I do know, guys, that the earth is cat. Cats are absolutely taking over the planet, the planet. So the earth is definitely cat. The earth is cat. So a lot of people are really enjoying this t-shirt. Love the design. Shirts are now available. The link is right down there in the description below. Well, it's technically not there yet because I forgot to put it. But I'm going to go put it once this live stream is over. So just come and chat back in a few minutes once the video's up. And you'll be able to click the link. Or you can just go to tchip.com/earth is cat. Earth is cat. And get yourself one of these Earth is cat t-shirts. That I know for sure. That the earth is cat. I know this without a doubt. The earth is cat. So again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Later, guys. Talk to you guys soon. And thank you, Pineapple Man, for the super chats. Thank you so much, brother. Later, guys.